Oh, that's a great question. You know, it's interesting because I think that the most important thing that we can do to make sure that people in my position, men or women, are prepared for their jobs is to start early in the process. I started out as an unpaid intern, and then I was a production assistant, and I got coffee. My whole job was getting coffee and answering calls. And then I got to be in the writer's room, taking notes and listening to how stories were built. And then finally I got to actually write, which was my dream. I think those opportunities need to be given to women earlier, because the last thing that you want is women to be dropped into my role just to make things equal, say.
Diversity hire.
Exactly. Well, it doesn't serve anyone, because then you have someone who's not prepared for the job. What we need to do is earlier experience and earlier preparation, because I've been doing this 20 years. I've been writing in television for 20 years. This is my first time being a showrunner. It's a really hard job, but I feel fully prepared to do it thanks to the education that I had. So this genre is, it's difficult because there's a lot of balls to keep in the air. At the end of the day though, I just have to trust my gut. I have to get back in and care about the characters, because if I don't care what Geralt is doing, what Yennefer is doing, what Ciri is doing, then it doesn't matter how many cool CGI monsters I have or how many great epic fights I have, because if we don't care what's happening between those things, then the show will fall apart. So really for me, it's about digging into those stories and making sure that these characters are relatable to an audience, and you know, that what they're going through, even in a fantasy world, reflects what we're going through in our real world. This is so easy for me, sadly. I've thought about this. Yennefer, for sure. I love her. The great thing about Yennefer is that she is presented as this really strong, powerful, the most powerful mage in all of the continent. And what she's hiding is a lot of vulnerability. And as a human, as a person, that's something that I think we all do a lot. And I think what Anya Chalotra has brought to the character is showing a little bit of both of those sides. And I think it's incredible. You know, the biggest thing that I can think about for anyone who wants to get in, but I think especially for women who tend to be a little bit quieter, tend to get pushed to the background because they don't speak up as often. I always talk about literally speaking up, telling someone what you want to do. You know, when I started, I was getting coffee and I was really good. I was great at memorizing coffee orders. But I made sure that all of my bosses on the West Wing knew that my dream was to be a writer. When I finally got to be a writer, then I wanted them to know that my dream was to be on set more and to learn more about how television was actually made. Once I was there working with the directors and the crew and the actors, then I wanted people to know that, you know, I was ready to actually run something. And I had to say those words out loud a lot. I had to self-validate, which I think it was hard for me. But at the end of the day, the only reason I have this job is because I told someone that I wanted it and thought I was ready for it. And I just think we need to speak up for ourselves. Oh my God, that's so unfair. By the way, I just told my children that online a lot I get called Mama Witcher, and so now they're starting to call me Mama Witcher, which is
I've seen it on the
hilarious. No, God, I can't answer that question. I can't, you know, have a favorite child. I have really fallen in love unexpectedly with characters that are secondary characters, for instance, or characters who were typically thought of as villains. Cahir's a perfect example. Cahir's a villain in the show. That's how he's presented. And I'm so intrigued by how Cahir became Cahir and what his sort of vulnerable underbelly is, the same thing that we explored with Yennefer. I want to get into that a little bit more.